and that number 3 spot now, like they can find a tight end in this draft, and probably the same thing with a running back too.
I got to take, fellas.
Oh,
Love it. Let's go.
Away.
I think the prospects coming out are soft. Not particularly this year, but I think watching the combine, you see, oh, this is the most athletic group in NFL history. Blah, blah, blah. They're running this, they're running that. You got guys that are like afraid of their numbers that aren't testing, and only the fast guys are testing. So of course, the numbers are gonna be a little juiced. I think that's soft. I wish guys wanted to compete, even if they knew they weren't gonna run a fast 40. If it's a safety, it's gonna run like a 4.5. I wish he would still run. You know, like I want that. I want guys to compete. I want guys to go out there and do every drill and actually like show what they can do to these NFL teams. And you got guys that are cherry picking their numbers, and even the guys that are running, the guys that are fast and quick, they're not even doing all the agility drills. So I'm just like, all the numbers are a bit skewed this year, and I hate it. Like I think it's soft. I think it's weak. So that's my take.
I like that take. Where have all the Detroit Lions gone?
Yeah, man. There's still a few. I mean, I think Emmanuel McNeil-Warren, like he's a safety. I don't think he's the fastest guy, but I think he still ran in the 4.5s. Like normally a guy that's a projected first round pick or a top 30 prospect that runs in the 4.5s isn't running just to kind of, you know, I'm going to do it my pro day when I can like have a little more time to train. Like normally that's the case. He was out there competing. So I did appreciate that. There's some guys that you can kind of get a sense of, but that's my take on prospects. In terms of potential fits for the Lions, Blake Miller, going to his podium session on Saturday, I kind of walked away. I'm pretty sure most of us did, walking away from there being like, that's a Lion if I've ever heard one. I just think he's going to check a lot of boxes. 6'6", 34-inch arms, 9.97 RAS. I think it's 6th highest for offensive tackles. Was a 4-year starter at Clemson. I think he started all 56 games and set a school record for most snaps in school history. Was a wrestler back in the day. High character guy, viewed as an excellent teammate. And then he told a story about like a wrist injury he suffered, I think this going to his junior year at Clemson. And it was like spring football, and he like hurt his wrist, and he originally just had like, you know, soft cast on it and continued to practice with like this like wrist injury. And I think it was right before spring break. He had to get surgery, and he missed a single practice. And he goes, yeah, that kind of sucked. Missing one practice
so mad.
With the wrist. He's like, yeah, I mean, that kind of sucks, but I was able to come back with a club on it, and he's kind of played through because I wanted to be there for my guys. As he's talking, he has like straight face, like not laughing. I'm like trying so hard not to laugh. I'm just like, that guy's a Lion, and he doesn't even know it. So we'll see if he ends up being the pick. His range is kind of a little bit scattered. I've seen him as high as like top 20, and I've seen him kind of in, I guess, the early second round. So let's say 20 to 40-ish range. I'm not sure he's going to make it to 50 at this rate he's going, especially after the combine with, you know, the just kind of lighting up the athletic testing. I think he'll probably be pushed a little higher there. So I do like him as an option. Obviously, Taylor Decker coming back kind of, you know, alleviate some of the concern for tackle. But if you still want to go that, like, you know, draft and stash route, I think he would make a lot of sense for them. I think I'm out on Caden Proctor for some reasons I heard at the combine, which I will not share. But I'm just not sure he's going to check all the character boxes for the Lions. And I also had concerns anyway that I feel like he's better suited as a guard. And I know there's some positional versatility that some teams like that, being able to play tackling and guard. But if I'm taking a guard, I'd rather take Benga. So that's my other thing. And then another guy, Maxi Hanachor. I think I'm saying his name right, finally.
Let's go. We got it.
It only took like a month. But I still like him as a tackle. I'm just running through my list of tackles right now. But I really think he's going to be a good player and like another draft and stash option. I actually think he's going to be pushed a little higher too with some of these run-on tackles I think we're going to see in the first round. But there's some tackles I really liked, some I didn't. And I'm glad I stayed till Saturday to kind of hear those guys talk, and some good sessions there for sure.
Takeaway also at the tackle position is that Monroe Freeling seems to be flying up draft boards and possibly even into the top 10 overall. Colton, I know you had mentioned his name here, maybe even last week, or I think it was 2 weeks ago. And he was someone that I went down there thinking the Lions could either grab at 17 or possibly even trade back in the first round and still grab like in the 20s, pick up an extra day 2 pick. Dude, no longer does that seem viable. Like He runs a sub 540, which apparently he wasn't even happy about, even though he's an absolute monster. And then he has like an unofficial 9.99 RAS score, which ranks second out of like the 1,500 tackles in the RAS era. I know he didn't play a ton at Georgia, and so there are maybe limited experience, but I felt like early in the draft process the conversation about tackles was Mauigoa and Fano clear cut top two, and then like a group of guys who were in the conversation for offensive tackle 3. It feels like that's becoming pretty clearly Freeland, and maybe he would even jump into that top 2 conversation. So that was a guy who seemed like a viable Lions target and might not anymore. I still think there's good tackle depth, as Colton just underlined. But yeah, I left the combine realizing that Freeland probably not a realistic fit anymore for the Lions, barring a move up the board. The other thing, like combine wise or draft wise, I think we should mention, just to maybe finish the Montgomery conversation, is like the Lions can find a David Montgomery caliber player with the pick they got from the Texans. Like last year in the draft, I looked today, there were 19 running backs taken on day 3, which was the most of any position. That's just where teams are most comfortable now drafting that position. And like there were a handful of guys last year as rookies and day 3 picks who produced similar numbers to Montgomery, not just last year, but if you take Montgomery on aggregate from 2024 to 2025, which probably best represents what the Lions are looking for out of RB2 moving forward. Like there were guys that put up numbers that matched his. Like, first of all, dude, Cam Scatterbu would have been the ultimate freaking Lion. It's too bad he wasn't coming out of the draft this year, because he is exactly what they would have been seeking. He put up numbers per game that would have rivaled Demo's. Kyle Monangai in the 7th round for the Bears put up those kind of numbers. Shakori Krosky-Merritt in the 7th round put up those kind of numbers. Even the team that Demo's going to, the Texans, drafted Woody Marks in the 4th round. And like the efficiency wasn't quite as good last year for him as a rookie, but the volume was on par with what Montgomery did. So I think there are running backs on day 3 this year who could give the Lions what they're seeking as the Jahmyr Gibbs complement. I think Le'Veon Moss is interesting. He's a Texas A&M guy. I'm really just jonesing for Campbell to get a Texas A&M guy in the building with him. But like guys that fit that sort of like bruising, heavy finishing style that Demo had, there are a bunch of them that will probably come off the board on day 3. And I think the Lions can find a pretty serviceable replacement for Demo if they don't go to the free agent market to do that.
And that's probably one aspect of Montgomery we didn't talk about. Like it was untenable to pay him an $8 million cap hit for what amounts to probably 10 touches, right? Now you're going to get that for 1/8 of the cost if you draft a rookie, and you're going to lock that up for 4 years at 1/8 of the cost. And that's just the more logical way to build out your roster. But I think, Colton, we're in agreement. Just trade down a few spots, pick up a 3rd rounder, draft Blake Miller, call today.
I think so. I'm cool with that.
Nailed it.